والآخرة خير لمن اتقى. والآخرة خير لمن اتقى ولا تظلمون فتيلا. أينما تكونوا يدرككم الموت ولو كنتم في بروج مشيدة. وإن تصبهم حسنة يقولوا هذه من عند الله وإن تصبهم سيئة يقولوا هذه من عندك قل كل من عند الله فما لهؤلاء القوم لا يكادون يفقهون حديثا. ما أصابك من حسنة فمن الله وما أصابك من سيئة فمن نفسك وأرسلناك للناس رسولا وكفى بالله شهيدا. من يطع الرسول فقد أطاع الله ومن تولى فما أرسلناك عليهم حفيظا. ويقولون طاعة فإذا برزوا من عندك بيت طائفة منهم غير الذي تقول والله يكتب ما يبيتون. فأعرض عنهم وتوكل على الله وكفى بالله وكيلا. أفلا يتدبرون القرآن أفلا يتدبرون القرآن ولو كان من عند غير الله لوجدوا فيه اختلافا كثيرا. وإذا جاءهم أمر من الأمن أو الخوف أذاعوا به ولو ردوه إلى الرسول وإلى أولي الأمر منهم لعلمه الذين يستنبطونه منهم ولولا فضل الله عليكم ورحمته لاتبعتم الشيطان إلا قليلا. فقاتل في سبيل الله لا تكلف إلا نفسك وحرض المؤمنين. عسى الله أن يكف بأس الذين كفروا والله أشد بأسا وأشد تنكيلا. ومن يشفع شفاعة حسنة يكن له نصيب منها ومن يشفع شفاعة سيئة يكن له كفل منها وكان الله على كل شيء مقيتا. وإذا حييتم حُيِّيتُم بِتَحِيَّةٍ فَحَيُّوا بِأَحْسَنَ مِنْهَا أَوْ رُدُّوهَا إِنَّ اللَّهَ كَانَ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ حَسِيبًا. صدق الله العلي العظيم. الفاتحة تسبق الصلاة على محمد وآل محمد.
Ahsan, Brother Amr. Thank you for reciting Surah Nisa. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you all for braving the cold weather, and it's so nice to see everybody here. We are happy to have Sheikh Mahdi with us. For those of you that don't know, last night we had a workshop with him on halal food and drink. Very, very productive workshop. And inshallah, we look forward to having a continuation of that. Next time he comes, he'll go over halal meat and the ahkam about how to determine whether or not the meat you're consuming is permissible. Before we have Sheikh Mahdi Rastani deliver the main speech, we have a president's address for about 5 to 10 minutes. So without further ado, if you can recite salawat, we'll have Brother Reza address the gathering. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. This is just the beginning of what we have been planning for a couple of years, actually, to have an update of what's going on. I know we send out email to the community of what EC works on, but I think it's easier to come here and maybe give the same message sort of quickly. So I have, so this is an update that I like to give maybe every couple of months so people are up to date on what's going on and what EC is working on. It is a lot of work to keep the center running. It doesn't look that way, you know, everything is like a building and, you know, there's little food out there and sometimes there's not. So it doesn't look very much, but there's a lot involved in running a center. So I just want to give you a little hints of what we all spend a lot of our time on. The new building, so these are the few things that I'm going to talk about fairly quickly, just going to go over it. It's the new building, status of the new building, go back one, please. A new oven that we're trying to get for the kitchen that's gone bad. Water inspection that we had penalties on, we had to run after for several months to get our money back from the city. Some public safety things that we had to deal with that had to do with kids running around in here. Finance, update on the finance a little bit. A couple of points about the security and another point about cleanliness. I really like to bring that up to make sure that we don't put undue burden on a couple of people who stay late trying to clean up after the community leaves. And finally, a BMR chair vacancy. As you know, Brother Muhammad Abbas has moved on to EC and he really needs some help and maybe somebody can step up to take some of the responsibilities. So starting with the building, I'm sorry I have to hold this. So it has a few steps and I know everybody has been working on this forever, but I'll give you a status of where we are. The first one is city permit. That's the first step. So as you know, the building will be moving to the back, or that's the proposal. It's going to be moving further back towards a parking lot in the back. So that Landev, who one person actually, has taken this responsibility. He's going to take it to the city. He's already talked to the city to make this a small adjustment. There are two cases. One is a large adjustment, the other one is a small adjustment. Hopefully, he already talked to the city and they agreed to do this as a small adjustment. We are paying $25,000 for this change and to get the city to approve this plan. That is the location of the building on the site. That's where it's going to go. So as soon as that is done, which city approves that the building will be at the location that's being proposed, that takes care of the first step. The next step is to get a building permit. That means somebody has to take those plans that we have for the building, the drawings that we have, the construction drawings that we have, to the city and to get approval to build the building. The first part, the building permit itself is going to take about, oh, you went down. Okay, the site plan, the first part is going to take about 2 to 3 months. And then after that, we're going to go to building permit. The building permit, that's going to take another 3 months to get permission to build the building. While we're getting permission to build the building, we can start taking those drawings that have been given to us and get bidding. So we know, we can get started on building the construction. But before that, we have to get it out and have some bids on it. That is still itself takes a process because you have to give it to some contractors and ask them to give a bid. You have to evaluate the bid and all that. With all that said, realistically, construction can start in September or October timeframe. That's when the foundation can be poured. We also have a model that we're paying for. The model will show, and it'll be a good thing for fundraising purposes. It'll show, it'll be a model that you've probably seen other models that shows, how the building looks and where it sits on the property and all that kind of stuff. Next, please. New oven for the kitchen. As you know, the oven in the kitchen has gone bad, and it's not really sufficient to do the cooking for, several hundred people that we have to serve at times. We decided to go with a commercial oven because it gets so much use and it has more space really to accommodate for what we need. We have had gas versus electric. Gas seems to work well for us, as right now we have gas, but that has its own challenges. If you have to use electricity or electrical commercial oven, that still needs a special wiring, and it draws a lot of electricity. Gas is best, but as I said, it has its own challenges. It's going to need a gas tank. It has to have a hood that's properly installed, and that actually gradually pushes us towards renovating the kitchen sometime soon, inshallah, so we can have a decent kitchen. Next. Water inspection penalties. I put this thing up just to make sure that people understand how difficult it is to run. So once we started doing the construction last time, they gave us a new line for the water supply. The old supply line that we had was turned into irrigation water line system, per se. And they require all kinds of inspections of the water that comes in for fire suppression, the water that comes in and, for that one and for irrigation and all that. So anyway, they tacked on another penalty to our water bill that took us about 5 months to clear, to convince them that they weren't supposed to penalize us for this. It took a lot of Brother Muhammad Rizvi's time to go down to the city to talk. Several people, Brother Akbar had to go down there and talk to them. They had to meet and talk to several inspectors. I just want to give you an idea. They overcharged us $7,175 and it took us 5 months to get it back. So it just shows what it takes to do any work. Next one. This was a safety issue. So kids are kids. They're going to run around, they're going to play. And this is the right place for it. They should be doing that. Now we have to make sure, we have to keep an eye on them to make sure they don't injure themselves or other kids. We had some activities happening here where while the kids were playing, they actually prisoned one of the kids in one of the closets and put plastic over him. This is extremely dangerous. This is not a play anymore. We need to keep an eye on our kids. So if the kids are here, please go check on your kids, just to make sure they don't do something that would hurt themselves or hurt somebody else. The other thing that's a big concern here, the kids usually play, they may be pushing each other, all of that. On the fields over here, that's okay. Maybe somebody will fall. Maybe it's not a big deal. But back there where the ponds are, sisters, can you please listen? Sisters? Thank you. So when the kids go back there where the ponds are, that's not a normal pond. It's not like something that, you have clean water and somebody falls and if they know how to swim, they can get out. When we have a lot of rain back there, we don't want the kids going back there because if they do fall in there, there may be muddy grounds. They may hit their head against a rock or whatever at the bottom, and God forbid something bad can happen. So please advise your kids not to go back where the ponds are and just play in the front area and be a little bit more cautious. We don't want any accidents happening here. Next. You may have already noticed this. We use the home's money to run the center, and we do this from the ijaza that we got from Sayyid Sistani's office. So if we don't have the home's money, we can't really run and pay for all the expenses. We like to use that home's money for the new building or any improvements that we have to do. So till last year, we had 15 individuals that paid monthly payments of $18,000 total for the year, and that was what was helping. What we like to do is, even if it's a very small amount, it's nice for everybody to chip in a little bit to pay for that. And so recently there was a push to go around and talk to people. We were able to raise another $21,000 per year of commitments. And as I said, it would be nice to have more so we can pay for the expenses, running expenses. If they take that ijaza away, we will not be able to keep the center running the way it is. And we want to make sure that we can pay the balance. And when we go to the new building, we'll have extra expenses, although at that point, we will have to think about how we're going to pay for those expenses and find other ways of paying for that. We'll have to find a way. I just want to give you all a heads up so you know what's going on. Next. As you know, there were 2 mosque fires recently in Texas. The last one was in Victoria yesterday. So the Victoria Mosque burned down. Victoria, Texas. Victoria, what's that? It's a Victoria. So Victoria, if you don't know where it is, it's somewhere between Houston and Corpus Christi. It's right between there. We actually went out there for a soccer match just recently. And I didn't know about that. But anyway, so what I was going to say was, just to be aware, if you see something suspicious, just come and report it. If you see somebody new on site, go talk to them, introduce yourself, see what they're doing, if they like to come in and join us or whatever. We have to be nice. We have to make sure to be nice to them. If we have new visitors, we just have to be a little bit more cautious if we see something suspicious. This is somewhat of a sad situation for me. If you have ever stayed late, you will notice that after we have the dinner, there's plenty of plates and cups and all kinds of stuff that's left around. That's really embarrassing for Islamic Center. We really have to change modes. We have people over the age of 60 who stay till 11 p.m. at night, 12 p.m. at night, or 12 midnight just to clean up. That's embarrassing. We really need to take care of our plate and maybe some kid who is less observant, or maybe somebody else who's less observant. We can't expect a couple of ladies to stay till midnight to clean up after us. That's sad. So I really hope that we can get to a point where when we're done, we can see that place all cleaned up after we leave. Next. The next one this is the last one. I will pass this on to Brother Muhammad Abbas, who's going to talk about the BMI. As I said, he has already moved to the EC position, and he needs help taking care of this. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. So, brothers and sisters, essentially, as the center is growing and our building right now has gotten to it's pretty old, and we're seeing more and more issues here. It's no longer a place where one or two people can just do all of the work related with maintaining this building. So, and then, I've been chair for a little while, and then Brother Shabir was chair before that. And what we have is we have a very good community that chips in whenever needed. We go ahead and call out for volunteers, and thank you all for showing up. We always have people to show up. What we're now trying to do essentially is, in order to set for the next few years, as well as moving into the new building when the workload is going to increase over there, we're trying to put some more structure. And what we are needing is volunteers that are not just showing up when needed, but actually part of committee members that can take responsibility for certain pieces of it. So we don't have one or two people doing all of the things. We can reduce the workload and distribute it among more people. So the structure that you see, we're looking for somebody who is interested in taking over landscaping and outdoor issues, taking care of those. Somebody who's can take over all electrical things, somebody who can do all plumbing related things, somebody who can do indoor maintenance, somebody who can help us with parking. What this means isn't that this person will do all the work. What this means is that this person will coordinate the work, right? We have recently put in a ticketing system, so when issues arise, we actually have a tracking system where we put in. We need people who we can assign these tickets to. Right now, it's 2 or 3 people that do everything, and it's very taxing on that. That's also some of the reasons that you see that it takes a while to get fixed, right? It's because we've got 2 people, they've got their work, they've got their lives, and they volunteer here, and they're not able to just be on the spot right away. So, in addition to that, and it could be one of those people, or it could be somebody else who wants to come in. We want to get somebody else who will work with us and learn how BMI works and whatnot, and take over the BMI chair position. Since I'm now also engaged in the EC, I really am not doing justice to it at this point. So please, if you can volunteer, if you have interest in any of these things, please send an email to bmi@iaba-austin.org, or talk to me or Brother Shabir, and we'll get some time aside and get you situated. Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum.
We don't want to do really discussion here. I think I've taken so much time here. But if anybody has any, I gave all the talk. If you have something to say, you can give a question.
First, about the pond, can we fence it off? Or avoid kids accidentally fall in there, or go? I know it's quite a bit of money, but that's one solution. My next question is, since the security has become a serious matter, especially with everything goes on with this new president, 2 fires in 2 mosques in the last couple of weeks. I know we have some video cameras. Are we monitoring? Are we recording? At least, what's the status? That's the question.
Assalamu alaikum. So one thing you don't know, the question is about security. So first of all, one thing to inform you also, just now in the evening when I came in, there was a sister, I'm not from our community, but I'm assuming from the neighbors, standing by the door holding a signboard. Actually don't remember the exact wording, but it said something to the effect of, "You're welcome and we love you." So this is one of our neighbors. So this was a very good sign, and I actually asked my daughters to go and thank her. And then some of the other sisters went up ahead and thanked her, and I think we even gave her some food. So our neighbors really like us. So that's just what's happening around us here. We do have other security measures in place over here. We have Brother Abbas here all the time. We do have a camera system where the cameras, I mean, for you guys to know, there is a camera system where the cameras are. I'm not going to go into details of it. There are some other security things that we have been doing. So every time we have a program here, like the Ashura programs, there are other things we step up and do. We make sure there's somebody out here who's sitting by the door, just greeting people, just like you said. So there are those things in place. But in addition to that, if you guys see somebody new, just go introduce yourself. Last time I went and introduced myself to someone, and he was very nice. I knew what he was doing. So I knew he was a Shia, and he was here for what he was here for. But if you walk up to someone and they start hesitating, you know that it's a red flag, and just come and tell us. A few years ago, we had FBI also come in here and talk to us, the EC, when I was in the EC. So we have those paths open to us also. The local police department, I've actually been working as a liaison to them. So the last couple of Eids and Muharram, I've been contacting them, getting them down here. They've come in and surveyed the property with me. Actually, they've not with me, with you, I think they surveyed once. But apart from that, they've surveyed. I did observe them once when a couple of years ago, about a year and a half ago, there was an incident in Houston and where a mosque was trashed. So the very next day, I think it was a Monday, when security came in, we saw them on the camera. I saw them on the camera. I actually called Brother Abbas, and he went and greeted them. They walked around here. So the APD is working with us. We just need to notify them. So if you guys do see something, let one of us know, and we'll get in touch with them, and we'll get in touch with the person who is here. My phone number? For 911.
From us.
From us?
There are a couple of phone numbers by the door. But
Yeah, my number is not on there, but I get calls at 10 o'clock at night from members, so I'm assuming everybody has my number by now. If not, yes, I'll give you my number.
that makes sense. No, that's right.
But yeah, it does make sense. Okay, we'll put my number on the door. Since I've been in contact with them, you'll put my number on the door. We'll come up with a policy of whose numbers we put on the door, but I'll definitely put them. Let me know. There are a couple of other senior members here. I'm not going to point them out to you, but you know who they are. Just approach if you see somebody. Approach you. I'll put you on the spot. If you guys see anything, approach him if you can't find me. Sorry, go ahead.
Those of you who live in London are familiar with the system. 10 years ago, the police department had 3 million cameras. Of course, they couldn't watch all of them at the same time. And they have their cable system, and they'll put those on the cable, cameras. Citizens just flipping the channels, they're looking at the cameras. They've got nothing else better to do. Many times they report crime to the police, which were not monitoring those cameras.
Okay.
Send officers to take care of the problem. Now, my suggestion is, we have our cameras here. If you all want to select, if you give them access, just not making any changes, at least to be able to see the camera, pull up their phones at late night, got nothing else to do. Look at the cameras, let's see
Okay.
what's going on at the
Yeah,
center.
I see what you mean.
That would be an extra pair of eyes.
Mhm.
At any given time, you could have, they go look. If anybody wants to cause issues and problems,
Okay.
they're gonna do it when we're not here.
Okay. I would advise the second.
good
Yeah,
suggestion.
that's a good suggestion.
That's a good suggestion. Thank you. We'll get back to you. I'm going to have one more question from the sisters. We're running really late.
Assalamu alaikum. So this is a question-concern that I just want to raise. And I think this is a good time because it affects almost all the committees, including program, food, and madrasa. So last year, we voted on which day our community wants madrasa to be on. And the majority vote was Saturday. And one of the biggest incentives was for the attendance for Saturday programs to be greater. for people to attend both madrasa and Saturday. But now we have a scenario where the food committee is shorthanded on volunteers, funds, etc., which is all legitimate, which is why they're changing the plan to have for all the reasons. Okay, so now the food, it's going to be cold food or. Okay, so my question is, do you have a solution for students and staff who are here from 2:30 p.m. They're snacking on snacks all day, and then at 9:30 they go out and it's again snacks.
Okay, that's a very good concern. We have already had 2 EC meetings. So you had 7 people to get together 2-hour times, or almost 2-hour times, to discuss that exact same thing. I think it's a very legitimate concern. You know, the kids and the families come here at 2 o'clock or 2:30, and they stay till 9 o'clock, and at 9 o'clock they expect to get some food, and actually I think they should be getting it way before that. So we had just had another meeting just today discussing that exact same thing. So allow us some time and it should be resolved soon. Thank you. Salawat.
Thank you, Brother Reza. Without further ado, if we can invite Sheikh Mahdi to the member with the salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
اللهم صل على Recite another salawat, please. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد وعجل فرجه. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وصلى الله على محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين. Recite Allah the salawat. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد وعجل فرجه. So along the lines of the meeting / gathering that we were just having here, I just want to mention that it is a very difficult task to keep things running. Whatever center we're talking about, whether it's here in Austin, Houston, San Antonio, whatever the case may be. And 2 quick points I wanted to mention is that number 1, we truly have to thank those of our brothers and sisters who set aside from their time, from their families, from their obligations. They show up here or other parts of the the programs that we have, and they help to bring these things together, whether they're from the youth or from the elder individuals. Let's take a moment to recognize and inshallah pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that they see the blessing of the rewards of taking this time, this precious time out of their own lives and doing things for the community. Let's all take a second to recite a salawat for all of these individuals. The other point that I wanted to mention, this is pretty much random, but when Brother Reza was talking about this issue, about the kids, one of the kids having, us having kids locked up in the closets and things like that. Just one point that I wanted to mention is that we need, a lot of the kids are here right now, and if they're not, their parents need to tell them this, that playing pranks on others is haram if it's going to bother them. Okay, this is a ruling. Doesn't matter which marja you follow regarding this ruling, okay? You will not find any marja who will come and tell you, hey, if you want to bother this person and he's not okay with you playing this joke on him, and you play that joke on him, it's not okay. So just because in this culture we call it a prank or we call it a joke, doesn't mean that this is okay. This is haram. It's probably one of the biggest harams that we have in our religion. That whether it's a kid or an elder person, but in this particular case, because it was the issue of the kids, I'm mentioning this, that bothering another mu'min is definitely haram. So just because, like I said, we call it a prank or, we were having fun, no. If he's okay with it 100%, that's a different issue. But 99% of the time, the person isn't okay with it. So when it comes to these pranks, be extremely cautious. Extremely cautious. Recite al-salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. All right, so I just wanted to take your time tonight, inshallah, talk about a concept that I found very important in our families, in our relationships, in our lives in general, and that is the idea of having good akhlaq. The concept of having good akhlaq is extremely important when it comes to the Islamic way of life, the Islamic teachings that we have. It is extremely important. When you look into the ahadith in particular, you find that the Ahlul Bayt have taught us on both sides of this issue. What does that mean? It means that the Ahlul Bayt have taught us how good it is when you have good akhlaq. And they have also taught us and displayed for us the consequences of what happens when you have bad akhlaq. Both sides of these have been addressed by the Ahlul Bayt. Right? We're going to go through two quick stories from the Ahlul Bayt regarding both sides of this issue. Please recite salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. The first one is a story about the first Imam, Ali ibn Abi Talib, salawatullahi alayhi. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. So this is a story about the Imam. One day he was outside of Kufa. He was going back to his house. And on his way, this is a famous story, that on his way, he came across a Jewish man. And as he was walking back, he didn't introduce himself as the Khalifa. He was the Khalifa at the time. Didn't introduce himself as the Khalifa. So he asked this Jewish man, who are you, where are you from? And the Jewish man says that I am a Jewish man, I live outside of Kufa. Not part of Kufa itself, outside of Kufa. So Ali ibn Abi Talib starts talking to this person and they start walking. And as they're walking, the conversation seems so sweet to this individual who's acquainted with the Imam that they just keep going on and on to a point where this person turns around, he sees he's close to his own house. The way to Kufa, if you were going to go to Kufa, you would have been separated from this individual because he's not going to Kufa. He's going to a city outside of Kufa, or a town or a village outside of Kufa. So he turns to Ali ibn Abi Talib, he says, but wait a second, you said you're going to Kufa. Why are you here with me? Ali ibn Abi Talib says, yes, I know I was supposed to go to Kufa. But our Prophet has taught us that when you're traveling with someone, you accompany them until they get to where they want to get to, and then you move back. Something that the culture here really, really lacks. The culture here, sometimes I see this in, the younger guys sometimes. One of the things that we have to learn is this, that if someone's leaving our house, you walk them out as a means of respect to them. Ali ibn Abi Talib says, our Prophet, this is what he has taught us. The Jewish man turns to him, he says, is this something that's coming from your religion, or is this your personal preference? In other words, are you just a good person, or no, this is what your religion requires of you? And the Imam says, no, this is something that our religion requires of us. Requires in the sense that it's recommended, of course. So he says, well, that's very interesting. And he thanks him and he moves on and he starts thinking about, what a great religion this is that, teaches this kind of stuff to their people. So he goes to that city and the Imam turns around and goes back towards the city of Kufa. The next day, this person comes to Kufa. He has to take care of something and he sees everyone is gathered around Ali ibn Abi Talib. Apparently, I was with this very famous guy. I didn't know is what he's thinking. He sees everyone gathered around this one person. He walks in, comes closer. He finds out this is Khalifatul Muslimin that I was with yesterday. And there he professes his faith in Islam and he becomes a Muslim. When you look at a story like this and the way Ali ibn Abi Talib is acting, there are two lessons that we have to walk away with when we go through this story. One of them is what I just talked about, accompanying someone until they reach their destination and you coming back. The other thing that we usually don't pay attention to is this, that imagine how sweet the conversation was for this person, how engaged he was, how intrigued he was when he was talking to Ali ibn Abi Talib, that it didn't cross his mind that this person is supposed to go somewhere else. This teaches us what? The idea that as a Muslim and as a Shia of the Ahlul Bayt, we cannot be cold individuals. You know what a cold individual is? You sit beside him like, Assalamu alaikum. He's like, Assalamu alaikum. Goes back to his phone. How are you doing today? Alhamdulillah. This is not the path of the Ahlul Bayt. The path of the Ahlul Bayt was such that when you started speaking to them, the conversation would get so sweet, you would forget about time. You would forget about where you're supposed to go. This is what Ali ibn Abi Talib is teaching us here in this story. That this person is so engaged in this talk, in this conversation, he forgets about where he's supposed to go. So this is one of the aspects, one of the traditions that shows us the importance of having this type of akhlaq, where you're approachable. When people come and they sit with you, they don't keep looking at their time, their watch every 2 minutes. No, sometimes they sit with you, hours pass by, they don't realize it. This is the path of the Ahlul Bayt. Recite the salawat. Then, as I said, as much as we have ahadith about the importance of having good akhlaq and mixing in an honorable way with others, we also have ahadith explaining to us, and some of these are somewhat, I like to call them scary ahadith. There was a companion of the Prophet, salawatullahi alayhi, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. He was a famous companion of the Prophet by the name of Sa'd ibn Ma'adh. Sa'd was a very famous companion of the Prophet. He was there when it came to many important events in the life of the Prophet and in the path and the course that the Muslimin were taking during the first years after the Prophet started his message or propagating his message. So news comes to the Prophet that Sa'd ibn Ma'adh, this companion of yours, he's passed away. And, now it's time to do tashyi' of his body. We're supposed to tashyi', meaning what? We take his body all the way to the grave. That's what they call tashyi'. Rasulullah, he starts leaving his house in a hurry. He leaves the house, he comes to the body of Sa'd ibn Ma'adh. All of the Muslimin raise the body of Sa'd ibn Ma'adh and they're moving towards the grave. And the hadith says that the Prophet, he would go to different corners of this tabut and he would carry the tabut once on the left, once on the right. Different parts of this tabut he was carrying around. So much so that the ashab, the companions of the Prophet, saw the Prophet doing this and they started asking him, what's going on? So the Prophet continues like this, so much his aba falls and he leaves it. He keeps going with the body of Sa'd ibn Ma'adh until the body of Sa'd ibn Ma'adh reaches the grave. And it's that point where they're going to now take this body of Sa'd ibn Ma'adh and they're going to place it inside the grave. And the Prophet stands there and he says that today, if I was going left and right around this tabut, it was Jibreel telling me where I'm supposed to go. And he also adds that today, thousands of the angels were also doing tashyi' for who? For Sa'd ibn Ma'adh with us. A point comes where the mother of Sa'd ibn Ma'adh, having heard this from the Prophet, she turns out, she says, Ya Sa'd, hani'an lakal Jannah. Oh Sa'd, you have a great time in Jannah. If you have all these angels doing tashyi' of your body and the Prophet is doing tashyi' of your body, in her mind, her conclusion was, you're automatically on your way to Jannah. And the Prophet opposes this opinion. The Prophet says, unfortunately, Sa'd is not having a good time right now. You say, why Rasulullah? Sa'd was a good person. He never opposed your message. He was a good person. He says, yes, but there was something he used to do and he didn't repent from it. He didn't do tawbah from it before he passed away. He said, Ya Rasulullah, what is this? He said, inside the house, he had bad akhlaq with his family. Bad akhlaq with his family inside the house, and he never repented to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from this sin. Right now, Sa'd is going through a very hard time. This grave, one of the punishments that's there for our sins is what they refer to it as fishar qabr, or the pressure that the grave will inflict upon someone. I'm not trying to spook anyone, none of the younger guys, right? This is there for someone who does a sin and doesn't repent to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Prophet says Sa'd ibn Mu'adh right now, he's dealing with that. Why? He didn't have good akhlaq with his family and he didn't repent from this sin. So you see the Ahlul Bayt, they're not just going to sit there and smile all the time and cheer us on and say, oh, have good akhlaq, it's good. No, they'll also tell you about the consequences of what happens when you hurt the people around you and you don't do tawbah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Recite salawat, please. So a couple points about good akhlaq, inshallah, and these are important points. One of the things that the Ahlul Bayt again have taught us, and this is something that when I talk about it, you'll see that this society that we live in, it lacks this observation. One of the things that the Ahlul Bayt have taught us is this, that a lot of times it's a lot more difficult to have good akhlaq with the people that you see every single day compared to the people that you see once in a while. This is one of the tricks of shaitan. There are people in our lives, we spend time with them every single day. And then there are people in our lives that we spend time with them maybe not every day, maybe just a couple hours a day. A lot of times when we want to judge ourselves when it comes to our akhlaq, what do we look to? We look to how we deal with the people that we don't spend that much time with. For example, I'm sitting here, I want to see, does Mahdi have good akhlaq or not, right? I just want to observing, just making a judgment regarding my own situation. I said, whenever I go to IABA, mashallah, my smile is the biggest smile. Everyone that comes close to me, I'm approachable, mashallah. This is one way to make a judgment about. When I go to work, all the co-workers say that, I'm a very kind person. When I spend time with my friends, none of my friends leave me. No, everyone hangs out with me because I have such good akhlaq. Which these are all good. These are all good. But the real measurements where you're supposed to measure yourself when it comes to your akhlaq is with who? With the people that you spend the most time with. That's where it gets very difficult. Which is why in our ahadith, when you look at the ahadith, there is emphasis on two groups in particular. These ahadith that we have about having good akhlaq, two groups in particular, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or the Ahlul Bayt have emphasized on. Number one, and this is for the younger guys and for the older guys. Parents. Parents. You would think that if you're 10 years old, it's difficult to have good akhlaq with your parents. Well, I'll have news for you. Trust me, if you turn 50 years old, 60 years old, you have your own children, still it's going to be difficult to have good akhlaq with your own parents. I've seen this. I've seen individuals, the guy's in his 60s. The parent is probably going to leave this world any day. Still, it's difficult to deal with his parents. Why? He hasn't practiced from a young age. That's the first group. Second group is your family in the sense of the spouse and the children. This is important. Sometimes, I don't know if you guys have heard this argument. Amongst the Iranian brothers, this is something that's said all the time. I say, Ajah, why do you talk about Islam so much? Look at all these Americans. They're not Muslim. They don't believe in Islam. But their akhlaq is perfect. They have no problem in their akhlaq. And yes, that's true. To a certain degree, their akhlaq, in some degree, some extent, it is better than us. There's no doubt. And there is things that we have to learn from them. There's no doubt about it. But when you want to gauge the akhlaq of a person, you don't look at how he or she is dealing with the people at work or when they go out to have fun. No. When it comes to intimate relationships, the average American, yes, when you're walking out of the shopping mall, they'll hold the door for you, or, they'll hold the gate for you. They'll be kind with you. That's not where you measure yourself. It's when you have an intimate relationship, whether it's with your child, your mother, your father, whoever that is. That's where you're supposed to see, do I have good akhlaq in those situations or not? Please recite a salawat. So this idea of having good akhlaq with the wives and the children and the parents is such a huge test that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even when it came to his own prophets, this is what he tested him with. Amongst other tests that the prophet had, one of the most difficult tests that the prophet had was what? Inside the house. So much so that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had to reveal a whole surah regarding this issue. Meaning that the Prophet was being bothered so much that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala feels the need to intervene. Sometimes they bother someone, you're like, okay, that's all right. Sometimes they're bothering someone so much, you're like, I have to do something about this. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sits there, he says, I have to reveal a whole surah about this. Which is why we have Surah Tahrim. Surah Tahrim, the main theme of Surah Tahrim is about what is happening between the Prophet and his wives. Which wives were these? What is the story behind it? That's a totally different topic. We'll talk about that later. But my point is, if the Prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can be tested with these types of things and he's patient with it, then me and you can definitely be tested with these types of things. The people that were dealing with the Prophet, the people that some of them were bothering the Prophet, when it comes to our own family, our own relatives, they are not as bad as some of those individuals. So if the Prophet can take something like that, then it's important that we are able to take these things when it comes to our own families. I mean, when it comes to us, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't feel like we were being oppressed so much that he had to reveal a whole surah. So then, that means that we need to be a little bit more patient. Recite a salawat, please. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. Two more very important points and we will end, inshallah. When we talk about good akhlaq and all these good things is all good and recommended, there are a couple of points that I want to emphasize on here. These are moments in our lives where having good akhlaq, having the proper akhlaq is not just good. There are times where having the proper akhlaq is crucial. That means that if in that particular moment you don't have the akhlaq that you're supposed to have, you're really messing up. You're really messing up. Okay. What are these moments, or what is this moment? The moment, brothers and sisters, where you turn into the representative of Islam. When we talk about the representative of Islam, brothers and sisters will sit there and say, yes, this means Hajj Agha has to have the best of akhlaq. Yes, Hajj Agha has to have best of akhlaq. But let me tell you something. Every one of us becomes a representative of Islam. I'm not even talking about when it comes to non-Muslims, no. When do you become a representative of religion? When do you become a representative of this mimbar, of this clothing, of these phrases that are written all around us? When? I'll give you a couple instances. Number one, someone is doing something wrong. They're doing something haram. You want to go there and you want to tell them that, hey, what you're doing is wrong. You want to do Amr bil Ma'ruf. You want to enjoin the good and forbid the evil. The moment you decide to do that, and you should decide to do that, you have now become the representative of Islam. All of the requirements that you had for Hajj Agha before it's now on you, because now you're representative of Islam. This is one of those situations where you have to have your best akhlaq in these situations. Number two, someone comes to you, they're talking about the religion of Islam. They mention this opinion about Islam that's just way off, inaccurate. And I've had this experience many times. A person comes up to you. I had this one experience. I was waiting in the airport once. And it's a long story, but I'll give you a briefer version. And I got to know this person beside me. He was speaking Farsi. And after a while, I don't know how, the discussion went on to the Shia-Sunni, differences that we have and things of that nature. And then in the middle of the discussion, this was one of the most firm statements I've ever heard from someone. He turned to me and he said, because I told him I study in the Hawza, he said, there's a verse in the Quran that says there is no such a thing as Shia and Sunni. This is all the work of the British Empire. Okay. Like, he was trying to push for unity, at least that's what he thought he was doing, right? He's pushing for unity. Now, someone mentions this opinion that's just way off. You're trying to convince him. The moment you start convincing this person, you become what? A representative of Islam. That's where you have to have your best akhlaq. If you don't have good akhlaq in that moment, you're really messing up. That's the second time. And I'm going to mention a story about this. And the third time is when we talk about Islam to our children. Listen, if me or you or anyone we know, if you don't have good akhlaq, please don't talk about Islam. Because you're just ruining it in the eyes of your children. Okay, you talk about Islam, it's just going to do damage. Either fix the akhlaq or talk less about Islam. This is something that we this is really harming our children and our youth. So these three instances are situations where we become representatives of Islam. Please recite the salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. One example, one story regarding these issues, and we're going to move on to the last point. During the time of the sixth Imam, Imam Sadiq, salawatullahi alayhi, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa ajil farajah. There's a companion of the sixth Imam by the name of Mufaddal. Mufaddal was a companion of Imam Sadiq, and he was a close companion of the Imam. The Imam spent time with him. All right, that means you're really close with the Imam, if the Imam is spending time with you. So Mufaddal says one day he went to Masjidun Nabi. He was sitting there by Masjidun Nabi. And as Mufaddal is sitting by Masjidun Nabi, he's sitting there and he's just pondering the greatness of the Prophet. Just thinking to himself, subhanAllah, how great the Prophet is. And the virtues of the Prophet and the kamalat of the Prophet. And he's thinking about these. And one famous guy walks into Masjid al-Nabi and sits close to him. And that is a person by the name of Ibn Abil Awja. Ibn Abil Awja. Ibn Abil Awja, he was what we refer to today as an atheist, in the sense that he denied everything that we believe in. He denied the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he was well known within the community back then. Everyone knew who Ibn Abil Awja was. Ibn Abil Awja comes and he sits with his friend. And then these guys start talking about the Prophet. Now, Mufaddal was sitting there pondering and thinking about how great the Prophet was. Now Ibn Abil Awja comes, he sits there, a person who doesn't believe in anything. He comes, he sits there, he's talking to his friend. They start talking about how the Prophet was able to trick everyone into thinking that he was a messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Imagine yourself, you're sitting there, you believe in something this firmly, and then someone is talking like this about what you believe in. He sits there, Ibn Abil Awja, they start talking, they're like, yeah, this Prophet, or in their words, of course, this Muhammad, he was able to trick everybody. He tricked, the knowledgeable people first, and then when they believed him, then other people followed, and he tricked everyone to the point that now when they mention the name of God, they also mention his name in the adhan 5 times a day or 3 times a day, whatever the case may be. And they just keep going on about how he was able to deceive so many people. Then Mufaddal hears this and he can't take it. So he gets up, he says, Ya adu Allah, enemy of Allah, what are you talking about? I've been sitting here for a while, and just picture yourselves in this situation. I've been sitting here, you've been saying all this stuff, you don't even believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He keeps going on with, some of them are logical arguments actually. He's like, look at yourself. The way you have been built, the way you have been created. If you were created in this way, there's no way there was no creator. He keeps going on with all these arguments that we have. And then, and this is the point of this whole story, Ibn Abil Awja turns to him. He says, of course in my words, Babajan, sit down. Just take a second. And Mufaddal he doesn't know what's going on. Ibn Abi al-Awjah says, listen, it looks like you're a companion of Ja'far ibn Muhammad salawatullahi alayhi. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Looks like you're a companion of Ja'far ibn Muhammad, who's very well known, of course, not as an imam, but as a scholar in the community. He says, looks like you're a companion of Ja'far ibn Muhammad. He says, listen, let me tell you something about Ja'far ibn Muhammad that even you don't know. He says, what are you talking about? He says, listen, if you're a companion of Ja'far ibn Muhammad and you want to argue with me regarding these topics, come and argue with me the same way your master or your boss or your leader argues with me. He says, what are you talking about? He says, when we go to Ja'far ibn Muhammad, we say a whole lot of things that are a lot worse than what you heard from us today. We unload everything that we have when it comes to him. All the bad things that we can say about what he believes in and the things that he respects, we say all of these things in his face. But he never gets up and shouts the way you just did. He never loses his cool the way you just did. He never reacts in the way that you did. We sit there and we bring argument after argument after argument to deny every little thing that Ja'far ibn Muhammad believes in and what he promotes. But he sits there quietly. When we're done with saying everything that we were able to say, he asks us a question. He says, are you done? And when we say yes, then with his own very short and brief arguments, he takes care of our arguments. If you want to argue with us the way Ja'far ibn Muhammad argues with us. What's wrong with you shouting and making all this noise? And calm down. You see, Ibn Abi al-Awjah is talking about of course, in his eyes, his enemy. And this is how he is describing the way Imam Sadiq is going to argue with others. So, this is a message and a lesson for us that anytime we are a representative of Islam, you have to have the best akhlaq you have in your pockets. You have to pull that out and you have to put on that performance in front of this person, because now you are representing a whole religion. Please recite the salawat. And inshallah, I'm going to end with this last point. All of this time we talked about having good akhlaq and all these things, and these are very important. One of the things that I have seen, unfortunately, happening in not just our communities, but in, amongst people in general, is this, that as much as we have emphasis on having good akhlaq, we also have lessons and teachings when it comes to dealing with someone who doesn't have good akhlaq. You're not the person who has bad akhlaq, someone else has bad akhlaq. But you're on the receiving end of it. Someone has bad akhlaq towards you. Okay. What happens in these situations, especially in our communities, in our centers? You walk in, you're trying to have good akhlaq with someone. However much you try to be nice and kind and, approachable and all those good things, this person's not responding in the right way. Like you're trying to be nice and everything, and the response you're getting are somewhat disrespectful. You're trying to greet this person, he barely greets you. You're trying to be nice to them, start a conversation with them, they barely want to talk to you, or something. They don't even look at you. Okay. In these situations, which is happens a lot, it's very common. Remember this is the key sentence. If you are asleep throughout this whole speech or talk, that's completely fine. But just remember this one sentence, okay? You can judge the act. You can judge the act, but you can't judge the person. What does that mean? What do we mean by that? This is what we mean. This person is not portraying good akhlaq towards you. Fine. You can say that this person is not having good akhlaq with me. But going any deeper and interpreting why that is the case, what is his motivation? What is his intention? This is a very scary thing to do. What does that mean? Sometimes someone doesn't have good akhlaq with you. Say, okay, he doesn't have good akhlaq with me. Then the next step is you sit down and you start thinking to yourself, like, why doesn't he have good akhlaq with me? He doesn't like me. He doesn't like this community. I'm Iranian. He's Pakistani. That's why he's doing it. All this judgment that's coming up. He doesn't have good akhlaq. That's fine. You acknowledge that. But the intention, the motivation behind it, you're interpreting now. You're making your own judgment now. This is where you have to be extremely cautious. This is why we have hadith after hadith after hadith, that when it comes to a Muslim, every little thing that he does, you're supposed to think the best possible thing of it. ذَا أَمْرَ أَخِيكَ عَلَى أَحْسَنِهِ. When your brother does something and you're trying to figure out why he did what he did, you have to picture it as the best of intentions, as the best of motivations. Now, when we say this sometimes, especially the sisters sometimes, they say, you're being naive, being simplistic. Say, why? They say, in the world of sisters, when you do this, this is what it means. You're a brother, you don't understand anything about the world of the sisters. That's true. I don't think any of this section understands anything from the world of the sisters. I don't know if you've seen those books, right? It says like what you understand about women, and then it's a book of full blank pages. I never got one of those gifts, but I'm just saying they have them out there. It's true, we don't understand the same way the sisters may not understand many things when it comes to the thought process of the brothers. So, this is what she did. She didn't invite us to her house. In this, case, this is what it means. I asked her, do you want to come to, our gathering? And she said, I'm busy. I have to take care of something else. And this is the third time I've asked her. You know what that means. Fine. I'm not trying to make a judgment on behalf of someone else. All I want to say is this, that if you have no doubt about your judgment, in the sense that they can bring the Quran in front of you right now, you can put your hand on the Quran, you can swear by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that this person did this because of this motivation, because of this intention that they had. Okay, you're sure about it. That means you're sure about it. You have no doubt about it. You have your yaqeen. Okay, that's fine. But if you have the slightest doubts, when I bring that Quran, your hand starts, shaking a little bit. The voice starts, shivering a little bit. You don't know. You're like, I'm not so sure now. If that's the case, and then you go around and you say, this person is doing this because of this motivation, because of this intention, this is haramun muharram. This is tuhmat. So, you can judge the act. This person may not be having good akhlaq with you. That's fine. But don't step further than that. Sometimes this person is dealing with so many difficulties in his personal life, he doesn't even feel like talking to anyone. Sometimes it's marital issues, sometimes it's issues with the children, sometimes it's issue with the wife, sometimes it's issue with the parents. You don't know that about the person that you're dealing with. We have to quit this judging of people. Don't be naive. You can say this person is not having good akhlaq with me, but going beyond that and interpreting why and drawing conclusions from that, you don't have the right to do that. That only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows why this person is acting in the way that he is acting. I am saying this because a lot of times we are quick when we portray good akhlaq and the other person doesn't, we're quick to put them aside. So I already gave you a chance. You had bad akhlaq, that means you don't like me, so that's it. No, take your time. There are a lot of times there's something that person is dealing with. That's why they're acting in the way that they are acting. Inshallah, with that, I will bring an end to tonight's talk. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He teaches us our responsibilities and our duties as the followers of the Ahlul Bayt. And I pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we are able to carry them out. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the protection of all of our brothers and sisters all around the world, all the countries that are going through difficulties, through turmoil as we speak today. And we pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect all of our maraji' and also to hasten the return of our 12th Imam. Please recite the salawat.
Ziyara.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك يا رسول الله. السلام عليك يا حبيب الله. السلام عليك يا علي بن أبي طالب يا أمير المؤمنين. السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء سيدة نساء العالمين. السلام عليك يا حسن المجتبى. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا صاحب العصر والزمان. السلام عليك يا خليفة الرحمن. السلام عليك يا إمام الإنس والجان ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليكم يا أهل بيت النبوة جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Just a reminder that next week, inshallah, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday is the wiladat of Sayyida Zainab alayhi salam. So we will have Sayyid Asad Jafri, inshallah, next week. We'll have program Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Thank you.